The wind howled through the narrow street as icy rain splashed in puddles. Mia pulled her coat tighter around her, juggling her umbrella and the brown paper bag of leftover bread she'd brought home from the bakery. She lived alone in a small rented house, a place that wasn't much, but it was hers. The lights from her porch flickered in the distance, guiding her through the storm. As she approached her house, something caught her eye, movement near the bus stop bench just across the street. She squinted. There, huddled under the shelter, was a man holding a little girl in his arms. They were soaked to the bone. The girl's head rested on his chest, and even from across the road, Mia could see how tightly she clung to a small stuffed animal. Mia's feet paused at her gate. She looked down at her keys, then back at the pair. Something inside her whispered, "Go." She crossed the street slowly, careful not to alarm them. "Hey," she called gently, her voice barely above the rain. "Are you both okay?" The man looked up, startled. He had a worn jacket, a tired face, and eyes full of worry. "We're fine," he said, though he clearly wasn't. "Where are you going?" she asked, scanning for luggage. There was none. He hesitated. "Nowhere tonight." Mia bit her lip. It was reckless. She didn't know them. But something in his eyes, or maybe the way the little girl buried her face in his shoulder, stirred something in her. "I know this sounds crazy, but I live right there," she said, pointing. "You both can stay the night. It's warm. You can dry off and rest. Just one night." He looked stunned. "Why would you do that?" She shrugged. "Because if it were me and my child, I'd hope someone would." He looked down at his daughter. Then slowly, he nodded. "Just for one night." Setting, inside Mia's modest kitchen, warm and filled with the aroma of soup. The girl's name was Lily. She was 7 and had the softest voice Mia had ever heard. Daniel, the father, dried her hair with a towel as she sipped the cocoa Mia made. The three of them sat in the small kitchen, steam rising from their mugs. Mia reheated some lentil soup on the stove and brought out her last few slices of bread. "It's not fancy," she said, placing bowls on the table. "It's perfect," Daniel replied, smiling faintly. Lily sat beside Mia, her eyes lighting up at the warm food. "You have a cat?" she asked, pointing to a faded magnet on the fridge. "No, just the magnet," Mia laughed. "I wish I could afford a real one." Daniel said little, but when he did speak, it was with warmth. He shared they had been traveling. Job loss, rent overdue, a few rough months. Mia didn't pry. She'd had her fair share of dark days too. Later, Lily curled up on the couch under a blanket Mia kept for guests. Daniel stood near the doorway, watching her sleep. "She's all I have," he said quietly. Mia nodded. "Then she's lucky to have you." He turned to her, emotion swimming in his eyes. "You didn't have to help us." "I know," she said. "But I wanted to." Setting, a quiet sunrise. The storm has passed. Mia made toast and scrambled eggs. Lily was all smiles, wearing one of Mia's old sweaters, the sleeves rolled up. Daniel looked better, still tired, but hopeful. "We'll get going," he said, sipping his coffee. "Where will you go?" He gave a small shrug. "Somewhere. I have a few leads." Mia watched them pack their things, just a small backpack. No car. No phone charger. It broke her heart. Daniel turned at the door. "Thank you, Mia. You didn't just give us shelter. You gave us dignity." She waved them off, smiling to keep her tears hidden. But after they left, she noticed an envelope in her mailbox. Inside was a handwritten note. "You reminded me there are still good people in the world. Thank you. D." She kept that note on her fridge for days. It felt like a dream, Brief, kind, and over. Setting, 1 week later. Mia's workplace, local branch of a national food company. Mia rushed into work at the food processing plant where she'd been for 4 years. It was a good job, though underpaid. Rumors had been swirling, something big was happening. A corporate restructuring. A new CEO. The employees gathered in the cafeteria, unsure what to expect. Mia stood in the back, arms crossed, next to her manager. "He's flying in today," someone whispered. "Apparently he's young. Real sharp." Moments later, the room fell silent. A man in a dark blue suit entered, flanked by executives. But when he stepped forward, Mia's heart stopped. It was Daniel. He scanned the room, and saw her. He smiled softly. "Before I talk business," he said into the mic, "I want to tell you a story." The crowd leaned in. "A week ago, my daughter and I were stranded during a storm. Cold, wet, and unsure where to go. A woman we didn't know offered us her home. No questions, no judgment. Just kindness. She had no idea who I was. She just saw 2 people in need." Murmurs spread through the room. Mia's face burned. "That one act of compassion reminded me why I took this job, to lead with heart. To rebuild this company around people, not profits." He turned, eyes meeting hers. "And that woman is standing right here. Her name is Mia." The crowd turned to stare. "And because of her, things are about to change." Setting, 1 month later. Company HQ, promotion ceremony. Daniel kept his word. He restructured the company's operations to focus on ethical sourcing and employee well-being. He launched a new community initiative to support struggling families. At the heart of it all was Mia. He called it the Second Night Project, a fund that provided temporary housing for displaced families. At the ceremony, Lily ran up to hug Mia as Daniel stood proudly beside them. "You showed us what one night of kindness can do," Daniel said in his speech. "So now, we're building hundreds more just like it." Mia had never dreamed of leadership. But she found her place helping others, guiding programs, and speaking to women like herself who once struggled to believe they mattered. As applause filled the hall, Mia felt something she hadn't in years: hope, not just for herself, but for everyone who believed they were unseen. She thought she gave them one night. But what she really gave was a second chance. For all of these